morning, students. Today we are moving to the part of history, chapter 5, Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. In this chapter, we are looking about the election or the selection of Rajas. In this time, we know that we are electing our rulers through the election. On the early time, if a king doing sacrifices, that is Ashwamedha Yaga or the horse sacrifices, by doing these horse sacrifices, they are sending a horse, and this horse will be passing through the other kingdoms also. If any king stopped the horse, they want to fight with the king, those who release this horse. If any ruler allow this horse to pass through his kingdom, they are accepting the king, those who release the horse. Then they will be called the kings, those who accepted him, they will be called for the ritual or the sacrifices, and they will be brought gift to the king because the king was elected as the Raja or the ruler. So they are brought him gifts, and the celebration will be doing in that empire. Next we are seeing about the Varna system. There were 4 Varna system was there in the early time. The Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. The Brahmins were priests. They are doing the priestly work or the offering in the sacrifices. And the Kshatriyas were warrior group. Warrior means they are soldiers. The Kshatriya group, they were soldiers. And Vaishyas, they were traders and farmers. Then comes the Shudras. Shudras, they were dasas or dasis. They are doing menial work for other 3 castes. In the early time, it was says that if a person birth in the family of Kshatriya, or his parents were in the Kshatriya group, automatically they will be in the part of Kshatriya. If their parents are in Brahmins, they will be automatically come to the Brahmin caste. So it was the Varna system that was established in the early time. Next comes the Janapada and Mahajanpada. Janapadas literally mean the land where the Jana set his foot and settled down. Here some examples of Janapadas: Puranagala, Delhi, Hastinapura, Atranjigera. These are some of the sites founded by the archaeologists about the evidence of Janapada, and they have found out some of the evidence of living. They were living in the huts, and what are the agriculture they have done in that particular area, and the archaeologists found painted graveware from this area, and those things they have found out in some of the areas where the Janapadas were. And then comes the Mahajanapadas. Mahajanapada means the Janapada become more important than others, then it is known as the Mahajanapada. In Mahajanapada, they were having capital city, and the city were fortified, and that they are making big walls to protect the city and to show they are rich and powerful. And in that time, they were started to maintaining the armies to fight with the other kings. That were the important things in the Janapadas and Mahajanapadas.
Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. How some men became rulers. About 3,000 years ago, there were changes in the way Rajas were chosen. Some men were recognized as Rajas by performing sacrifices like the Ashwamedha Yajna or the horse sacrifice. In Ashwamedha Yajna, a horse was let loose to wander in the kingdoms of other Rajas, and any Raja who stopped it had to fight. If they did not interrupt the path of the horse, it meant that they accepted the supremacy of the Raja to whom the horse belonged. This Raja to whom the horse belonged was recognized as being the most powerful. In these kind of rituals, the Raja was the central figure with a special seat, throne or a tiger skin. His charioteer who was a testimonial of his exploits in the battlefield, chanting tales of his glory. The Raja's relatives and family had to perform minor rituals. The other Rajas were simply spectators to this sacrifice. Holy water was sprinkled on the Raja by the priest, and ordinary people like Vaishyas brought gifts, while Shudras were excluded from these rituals. Varnas. Books written after the Rigveda are called later Vedic and include the Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharveda. These books, which were composed by priests, contained rules about society. There were different groups in society at this time, like the priests, farmers, herders, traders, craftspersons, laborers, and forest people. Some of these people were rich, while the others were poor. The priests divided the people into 4 groups called Varnas. These 4 groups were of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. The Brahmins were responsible for studying and teaching Vedas and performing sacrifices. The duty of the Kshatriyas was to fight battles and protect people. The Vaishyas were farmers, herders, and traders. Lastly, Shudras had to serve other 3 groups. These groups were decided on the basis of birth according to the priests. A Kshatriya's son would automatically become a Kshatriya. Some people were classified as untouchable, like craftsperson, hunters and gatherers, and people who performed burials and cremations. The system of Varna was not universally accepted by people, as some people thought that birth could not be a basis for deciding to which group a person belonged, while others condemned untouchability. Janapadas. The Rajas who performed elaborate sacrifices were recognized as Janapadas. The word Janapada means the land where the Jana has set its foot. Archaeologists have found settlements in these Janapadas such as Purana Killa in Delhi, Hastinapur near Meerut, and Atranchi Kheda near Etah. They discovered that people lived in huts and reared cattle and other animals, while they also grew crops like rice, wheat, barley, pulses, and sugarcane. Special type of earthen pots called painted greyware, which had simple lines and geometric pattern, were also manufactured. Mahajanapadas. About 2500 years ago, the Janapadas that gained more prominence and importance than the others were known as Mahajanapadas. These Mahajanapadas had a capital city, and some were fortified, which meant that huge walls of wood, brick, or stone were built around these forts. Forts were built to prevent attacks from other kings and also as a show of strength by the kings. The people could be controlled better in a fort. Elaborate planning and enormous labor was required to build these forts. Armies were maintained by the king and were paid regular salaries.
Dear students, in today's class, we have discussed about the Ashwamedha Yagna or the horse sacrifices that were selection of Rajas and the Varna system that were in the early time and Janapada and Mahajanapada. Those things we have discussed today and the rest of the chapter we will see in the next class.